I work by myself, I feel like I don't know what to do, and it's like immediately, like I have like 10, 15 people that like can help me out in any situation. I think it's really empowering to have so many people have my back and like love me, and so it's like I think that, and I think the only thing to really smash is like individualistic, like I want to live for myself in a little hole and like, you know, and like live with people, even though it is like it's very difficult, it's very difficult. But like I think I would rather like live my entire life and like try to strive to make that work than versus being like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna go live by myself because that's just, it'll never make me happy, I think. But so yeah, I think flexible economies and cooperative living is where we should all be going to, and where we can like work with each other and talk with each other and have dialogue that's constructive, and to like overload people's ideas and not shut down conversation and like recognize privilege and recognize like how you're being oppressed by other people, and so it's like I think that I get it. That's actually why I have to work for the collective.
You have to do what?
Yeah, and I work for the collective, like, that's why I have a job. Like, I support my comrades. And like I have the privilege of actually being able to have a job. So I recognize that. Okay. Good night, Benny.
Second round?
No, we have one. My name's Beeline. I have no experience in economy. I work for the Ledger House in Westwood, and that's it. Please get to meet my parents, and maybe I'll try it out. And that's it.
And is there anybody else who hasn't spoken that wants to speak? Oh, Alex.
And Chile, and there's a couple more.
No?
I mean, I hope we get to discussion and we're running out of time. Anybody else?
Yes.
You? Yes. Go.
Commune collectives is it's not a totally strange concept coming from a village. I think there's not it's not just this physical space. Um, we cannot seriously talk of reclaiming our humanity without coming closer to each other. You know, there was a time when people lived in small homes, and then capitalism, particularly the American style of housing, says no, you got to have a big house, two garages, four swimming pools, and all of that. Yes. Whereas communes and collective stress. Oh, I'm being taken. You know, this. I like this picture. Oh, it's such a young kid. Okay. But commune stress a sense of sharing. And I know that since we don't have time, I just want to maybe give out a secret here that one of the most beautiful things I have come to enjoy in Occupy LA within the past 1 year is that we have at least one recognizable collective that has survived through this period. With years of police repression, persecution by the state, all kinds of harassment, this group has been able to hold itself together. And when I watch them do what they do together, how they share things, how they co-organize their lives horizontally, I feel that one must pay respect to their effort and the kind of sacrifices they have shared. But it is not just only there. We also showed it when we were on the grounds of Occupy LA. You know, the idea that people have to be individual, everyone has to be a kind of a forte unto themselves, is very capitalistic. And building communes and collectives is quintessentially anti-capitalist.
Anybody else that wants to speak?
I got stuff.
Um,
I got stuff in my hand.
I'm Melissa. I I always have thought that consensus is really important, and that people essentially should have the liberty to live as they wish. Some people might want to live as individuals. Some people might want to live in collectives. Some people might want to live in communes. I've lived in all three all year. I've never seen so many people and lived with so many different people. And I mean, kind of based on what we're doing or how we're feeling, that's how we live. There are times where Jeff and I just want to be alone. So we go be alone. But in terms of working with people and being close to people, people. When you live with them and you work with them, I have never been closer. One of our comrades was arrested last night. I was hardly able to sleep. I don't think that would happen if it was someone at your office.
Yes.
And as for the government, I also believe in consensus. I think we need to get rid of them. They were invented in a time when we couldn't represent ourselves because you had to take horses and shit to get to the, city hall. But we have technology. I want to see iSenator. Like, somebody build an application. We can all represent ourselves. It would be cheaper if everyone just had an iPad or an iPhone. You want to make a capitalist society? Give everyone access. And that's what I believe. So if anyone can program here, please.
But,
Get
but,
rid of the
but that
government.
entails that you have to be able to afford an iPad or an iPhone.
But how much does our government cost us?
Right.
So if you get rid of them,
We're gonna talk a little bit about
and then you just pick the people you want to do certain jobs, like run schools.
and the park is closing at 7.
Yeah, if the park closes at 7, we need to clean up, and those systems just, why don't we go to Melisco's?
Let's go.
Okay, Ty?
I want to talk about individualism. Individualism under capitalist society is sort of a selfish kind of a stuff. It's a me individualism. But Marx talked about individualism that lets nothing interfere with its universalism. What does that mean? The way I interpret it, it's the universal is freedom for everybody. Individualism that does not repress anybody. No two people, I mean, there are two people, but not everybody is totally alike. We're not herd animals. We have individual desires, uh, wants, whatever. We are all better at certain things than other things. But the individual that we want is an individualism that lets you develop whatever your interests are fully. And you cannot do that under the capitalist system. And also, as far as technology, computer, you got to look at both ends of it, the good and the bad. Because as good as it is for communication, what has it done for, like, warfare, drone warfare? What has it done for deep water ocean drilling? They can't do that without the computer.
Thank you. Ryan's gonna talk. I'm gonna hand around, like, I don't know how much we're gonna get into actually talking about it. So email addresses, and we can have a class at Communes on Sunday. And we're gonna have it later in the afternoon, so there's gonna be time for everyone here. So I don't have a pen. I have a class of notes.
Yeah, just to try and kind of facilitate the ideas that I've been hearing around here, just as a general summary, being that this is a workshop, I would say that people that aren't currently living in a commune should start to work towards that coming out of this workshop. So, like, look around you and literally think about who you would live with in this circle, and then work towards that. But also, to me, I heard a lot of stuff about the benefits of to the you as a person, using it as a healing place. It sounds like it's a safer living space than living alone. The interpersonal dynamics that Dele and several other people mentioned about it being prefigurative and having that dynamic change, as well as the outer politics. Lauren talked about a citywide co-op, and I think Oakland has kind of gravitated towards that. They say Occupy Oakland is dead, long live the Oakland commune. That was kind of a controversial article, but talked about this idea of mutual aid spreading out in a communal way. And organizationally, it's conducive to rent strikes down the line. It's conducive to community cop watch down the line. Alternative energy stuff. And the need for a purpose in the manifesto. Just so it's a lot of different levels that we're talking about. And I think the organizational, outward political aspect of it is maybe the most important.
that culture of like, you know, taking direct action, we were in the city as human beings able to produce and like work and advocate together and support each other. You do have to be careful